Hey, welcome to Module 13. Today we are going to be looking at transcription techniques, part 2. Look at page 31 in your notes. Pull that up real quick. Last week we talked about transcribing the bass line first, always listening to where the bass line is moving. I think that's really important for that to be your primary go-to in your ear training muscles. Because if you can trace where the bass line is going, then it's just a little bit more complicated to trace where the melody's going. And in between, we find what's going on with the harmony. So today we're going to do a little bit of stuff on melody transcribing. Some of you music theory nerds out there might say, well, isn't tracing and transcribing the bass line, isn't the bass line its own melody? Absolutely true. It totally is. But it's usually a simpler melody than the regular melody. And I want to get you going quicker on this. And from the bass line, it's much easier to derive the harmony. Many times, though, a rhythm chart, which is what we've been messing with here this last week and a half, a rhythm chart is sometimes the only thing that the band needs to see. But the mature musician is constantly listening to everything that's going around in the room, all of the bits and pieces and parts, and especially the melody, because anything that the musician would play needs to always augment or color or ornament the melody and not clash with it. Okay? So I know as a musician, if I'm just given a rhythm chart, that's fine, but I'm in my mind trying to transcribe on the fly a little bit every melody that's happening, whether it's a lick that the saxophone player does or the actual thing that the singer's doing, because that informs what voicings I choose. That informs what fills that I do. And what's even greater, funner is after I've gone through the song a couple of times, if I'm familiar enough with the melody, I can find moments where the melody is of maybe the vocal could use a little bit of augmenting, and I'll play the melody with it or harmonize it or something like that, because I'm always trying to be aware of the melody as it relates to what I play. So we'll spend some time talking about melody transcription, and I've got one for us to mess around with. There's a difference, though, between a rhythm chart and a lead sheet. I think both are valuable in different situations. Primarily, if you write a song and you want to submit it to the Copyright Office, you really need a lead sheet. You need something that has documented the melody and the lyrics and basically the chords. It doesn't have to be super exact. It doesn't have to be very involved, but it needs to show that. And a rhythm chart doesn't show you the melody or the lyrics. And sometimes you can even create a chart in such a way where you can have both at once, which is kind of the example that we're going to be looking at. So we're going to be kind of more looking at a lead sheet version here in this particular example, though it is potentially usable as a rhythm chart for a band that is mature enough to see through it and see what needs to go on. So this song that we're going to look at is from my album Project Worship, available at austinbiel.com. Consider that Christmas only comes once a year, but it's never too late or early to start shopping. Feel free to buy copies in triplicate for all of your friends and family. This song is called So Close to You, written by my friend Sammy Hundley. Let's take a listen to a little bit of it while I hit start on the screen recording so that we can add that to the video later. So this is from my friend Sammy, So Close to You.
So close to you, giving my life in worship to you.
Now, for the record, this was before auto-tune, and everybody said amen. Thank God for auto-tune. You'll have this MP3 in your email, so you can take a listen to it at your leisure. Let's look first off at the very first note of the melody and explain a little bit about the heart behind this course and what we're doing as it relates to the staff. So the first note, I'm going to go ahead and give it to you, just so we can get started on the conversation. The first note is I think I sang it better just now than on the recording. But anyway, that note is a G sharp. I just gave you that one for free. Okay? Now, my heart at this point is to teach without using the 5-line staff that we always have seen, right? You guys know what this is. You've seen it before, even if you haven't actually used it or know how to read music, okay? Now, I think this is a hugely important tool for a lot of musicians to use because it's the only way to really indicate very specific things that need to get played. A riff, a line, a melody. It's the only way to really write it down with any specificity. However, I find that there's a lot of musicians who I think could be better artists and more creative if they hadn't learned this. I think this can confuse a lot of people unnecessarily. And then there's other people that I think this is mandatory for them to get to their artistic goals. It depends on the person. I apologize to my theory professor who is rolling in his grave right now. Okay, but I've been doing this for a long time, and I feel very strongly that for some people, understanding this system and being able to read and write traditional music is absolutely necessary for their artistic goals. And for other people, it's a stumbling block that keeps them from growing creatively. So this course is a non-notation music theory course. Down the road, our dream is we're going to have a notation class as well, okay? And I feel like I've got some things to bring to the table for that. But in this particular situation, I'm only looking for letter names so that somebody can look at the letter name and find that letter name on the keyboard, on the fretboard, and figure it out from there, okay? So the lead sheet that you've got in your PDF, and if you're looking at it, it won't be a big deal right now, but I'm hoping that you won't look at it right this second. It is using traditional notation, and you'll need to, if you're going to make a lead sheet, you've got to learn this part. But right now, I'm mostly just interested in you hearing a melody and being able to figure out what those notes are. Okay, so please don't let that throw you. Let's take a look at this melody. The first line of the lyrics is, I want to be so close to you. And if memory serves, I think every one of those words is got a different note of the melody for it. So I'm going to hit play. It should be right before the beginning of the melody starts.
I want to be so close to you. 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 I want to be so close to you.
I want to be so close to you. And I already gave you for free this G sharp. Now, if I hadn't given you that, you need to do what we did with the bass line and zoom in on that very first note and just play it over and over and over until you find it. And you go, oh, and you go, oh, I is that first note. And now sing it with me again. I want to be so close to you. So let's break it down. What's the distance between I want, what's that interval? I want. So what's the note? She says a major third. Anybody else got a guess? I want. You're guessing minor third?
Well, down, up it's major.
No, okay. Bobby said up it's major, but down might be something else. Now let me back up a second. Music theory 1, if you remember, an interval is a distance. It's a defined distance. Okay? So how many half steps? You said a major...
I said a major third, but I don't
Major third. How many half steps in a major third? If you can't remember, do the math real quick.
4.
These ladies over here are totally beating all y'all on this end of the table. They are coming up with everything. 4 half steps is a major third. I want, right? Here's 1 half step, 2, 3, 4. I want. So it's a major third going up or down, because a major third is 4 half steps, no matter how you slice it, right? So it's a major third. What's a major third or 4 half steps below G sharp? E. Yeah, so it's G natural, F sharp, F natural, E. So the word I want is an E. So think about it. I want to be so close to you. I want to, where did it go? I, G sharp, want to. Sue says up a whole, you said step, you said a step, it's actually a whole step. I want, and if it was a half to be, no, that's a half step. I want to is a half step. I want to is a whole step. Sing a half step with me. Half step. Sing whole step. Whole step. Now go back to I. I want to. Do it again. I want to. What's the note under 2? Because it's a whole step above E.
F sharp.
F sharp. Now, to some of you, this is like brand new. To some of you, this is super tedious. Stay with me, okay? I want to sing the whole thing. Let's hear it one more time.
I want to be so close to you.
I want to be, I want to be, I want to be, I be. B is the same note as I, right? G sharp, want to be so. Half step, says Bobby. Here's B, so is a half step. B, so is a whole step. That's not it. B, so. Everybody sing half step. Half step, right? So what's a half step above G sharp?
A.
A. Want to be so. And some of you are like, okay, Austin, this is really simplistic. And some of you are like, oh my gosh, I just now figured this out. Lipo. So, okay, and then the word close goes back. It goes, I want to be so close, be so close, be so la 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 la. So we know close is also G sharp. And then to you. Okay, so now we've got the same. I want close to, same major third, close to, close to. So this is going to be E again, major third, because we're hearing it. I want to be so close to you. And actually I did that on purpose. I think Sammy wrote it that way. I don't remember if Sammy wrote it that way or if I decided to do it that way. But I really like the idea that that this F sharp note is happening here, because most people will go like, I want to be so close to you, and just kind of do the same note over and over. That's kind of boring to me, but if y'all do it, that's okay. I won't judge you. But I was like, I want to go to a different note, so I want to be so close to you.